The next part of using Socrative is to actually deliver the assessment to your students. I'm in my teacher or my management dashboard in the Socrative software. And what I want to do to go ahead and run my assessment is to go ahead and fire it up, is what I tell the kids. I always start my assessment before I ask them to get out their devices or to get out their laptops or to get to the assessment in any way online. When I start it beforehand, I know that it's going and that they'll be able to catch to it, and I'm not trying to play catch up with them. I'm going to go ahead and bring my target up, and to start a pre-made quiz, we're going to go down to Start Quiz. That'll take me to the next screen. And what I want to do now is go ahead and choose which quiz I'm going to be running with them. The very last quiz that you created will always be at the top of the pull menu. If that's not the one you want, they will be in alphabetical order, and you can find that one immediately. Next, I want to choose if I'm going to have a student-paced quiz or a teacher-paced quiz. I use the student-paced quiz so everyone can work at their own speed. Below that, there are a couple of other options. The randomize answer choices, disable immediate right-wrong feedback, or the hide question explanations. I always like to have random questions delivered. That way, if I have a couple of kids sitting next to each other, they are going to be looking at completely different questions, even though they're taking the same assessment. I am not at all a fan of using the disable immediate right-wrong feedback. As I mentioned in the movie previously, that is one of the big draws of me using Socrative with my kids, is that they like to have that immediate feedback. They like to know if they got it right or if they got it wrong. Below is the hide question explanations. If you were to add explanations to each question, you could either turn that off or on. I typically don't use the explanation feature, but that's just there if you were to. So I'm going to go ahead and have the randomize answer choices checked, and I'm going to move up to the student-paced quiz. This is going to be the quiz dashboard where you're going to go ahead and you can watch live results or you can end the activity. At the top, it just reminds you of your room number, and it's important that your students know your room number. It just took a couple of assessments online when my students knew that they were going to go to room 996. It just became a part of our everyday when it became when it was time to do a quiz using Socrative. Below that is the students in the room, so you can actually gauge how many students are in there. If a student logs in more than once, they will count as many times as that student has logged in. If they were to use multiple browsers on a laptop, or if they were to log in on a laptop or a mobile device, then they'll be in 2 times. So if you see more students than you have in your classroom, that can be a normal thing. You just want to remind them to use one browser or to use only one device, and then to log out at the very end. Below that is the completed quiz. It'll keep a tally on how many of your students are done. And now it's actually going. So the quiz is being broadcast to anybody who has a mobile device or a browser and knows to go to room 996. So the way that I was going to show you how a student would then log in and take this quiz is actually through another browser on the same computer here, but I put it into an iPod demo site. And let me show you exactly what I mean by that. I'm going to Command Tab over to Safari, and there we go. We've got an iPod or an iPad preview site, and websites like these are used for app developers, so they can actually see what their website or I guess web developers who can then see what their website would look like on a mobile device. But you'll see here that I've already taken this particular iPhone to msocrative.com. This is also what the Socrative app looks very much like. I would not recommend using the browser on the iPhone to have kids get their way there via the internet. I would just go ahead and have the app on there. The layout is exactly the same, so for this demonstration purpose, it's practically the same thing. Well, at the top up here is where we want to go ahead and type in our room number. And that's where your students are going to go ahead and type in whatever room number you've been assigned. And mine is 996. As soon as they've typed that in, we're going to go ahead and join the room. All right. So the very first question, and this is just by default, is for the students to actually enter their name. You can edit this to have them put in any information that you want. Perhaps you don't want first and last name. Perhaps you want last name, first name. You can edit the directions any way you want to. You might want to go with student ID number or however you would like to have students be identified. So I'm going to go ahead and do last name, Ryan, and I'm going to press submit. Okay, now these are the questions that we had just created a little bit ago in our test question. Oh, I'm sorry, our test assessment. I'm actually in the Command tab back to my management software just to take a look at the live results. When I click on that, it's going to go ahead and start giving me exactly what information or what information has been collected to this point so far. And we can see that a few things have changed. First of all, I'm going to bring my target up. Students in the room would be 1. Completed quizzes, 0 of 1. And we can actually watch which student is on which question and how well they're doing, correct answers as well. And this will refresh automatically. So as students are taking the assessment, this page will continually update with their progress and then the number of correct answers. So you can kind of gauge just very, very casually how the class is doing overall. Or we can sit there and really focus in on how a couple of students are doing, maybe a couple of students that you were worried about. Well, I'm going to Command Tab again to my iPhone online, and the questions, like I said, are exactly the ones that we created a little bit ago. And will Don Manley be fired at the end of the 2013 season? I'm going to go ahead and say no. Oh, and you'll see that I got my immediate feedback there, because on the test question or the test assessment, we assigned a correct answer. So this gives me my immediate feedback that this is the wrong answer and that the correct answer was yes. I can then move on to my next question. Why do you think Don Mattingly will not be fired? Because he has been doing a great job. A student can go on as long as they would like on these open-ended questions. When you get to the end of any assessment, it'll have the finish and the name of the quiz. And the last thing that you want to have your students do is to actually log out of that particular assessment. I'm going to go ahead and click log out, and it defaults back to the original or to the sign-in screen of the mobile Socrative or the student Socrative site. If I go back to my management software now, I'll see that it's already finished up, that my one student has taken care of 3 of 3 questions, and it looks like that the correct answers, 0 of 1. The one question, the will Don Manley be fired, yes or no, was not answered correctly. So I did not receive any points possible. I did not answer the correct question. Well, the next step of this for you, when all of your students are done, or if you have to finish up due to time constraints, is to then end the activity. Once the activity has been ended, you have several different options of exporting or to receive this information, which we'll be going over in just a little bit.